Today we're going to compare numbers to 1,000. In first grade you learned about comparing to the tens, and we looked at comparing to the hundreds, but today we're going to look all the way up to 1,000 using that alligator greater than, less than, or equal to sign. And we need to use place value to help us to determine which numbers are greater than or less than. So here's our problem of the day. It says write the missing numbers. How do you know which numbers are missing? So we have 838 blank, 638, 538. So notice, are our numbers getting bigger as they go, or are they getting smaller as they go? 838, 638, 538. They are getting smaller, right? They're decreasing or getting smaller. Now we need to figure out by how much. Well, the ones and tens stay the same. They don't change, but the hundreds place does. And between these two, we see that it goes down by 1. So from here to here, it's going to go down by 100. 800s minus 100 would be 700. Keep your tens and ones. Again, if we're looking at this being 100 less, then this is going to be 938. How do we know which numbers are missing? We know because of the pattern, right? We can tell because the pattern is decreasing by 100. Write the missing numbers, then write the counting pattern. 650, 645, 640, blank, 630. Again, we are decreasing, so the pattern is going to get smaller, and it's getting smaller, 50 to 45, 40, blank, 30. So between 50 and 45, if I count back, 49, 48, 47, 46, 45, I took away 5. 45, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40, I took away 5. So it's decreasing by 5. So 540 minus 5, or sorry, 640 minus 5 would be 639, 638, 637, 636, 635. And then again, if we kept going and took away 5, we would get down to 630. So that makes sense that it would be minus 5. Let's look at the next one. 297 blank, 497 blank, 697. So 200, 400, 600 looks like we're increasing, right? We're going to add or get bigger. So the only digit changing is the hundreds place. It's getting bigger by 2, but we've got one in between. So if we go up by 1, we get to 397, 497. Plus 100 would be 597. Plus 100, 697. So I want you to try these two on your own on your whiteboard. Pause your video and push play when you're ready to check and see how you did. Okay, did you get 10 more for number 3 and 10 less for number 4? I hope so. Check your numbers to make sure you've got them in there correctly. Priscilla wrote down the following numbers. What is the pattern? 220, 320, 420, 520, 620. So again, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. So the only number that's really changing is our hundreds place, and it's getting bigger by 100, right? 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So plus 100 or 100 more. So what strategies can you use to compare numbers to 1,000? So we can represent the numbers using objects and see which number represents more objects. We could also look at each place value and determine which one, starting with the biggest place value, which one is the bigger number, and then going towards the smaller place values if they're the same. We could draw a picture, right? There's lots of different tools that we have that we could use. So let's go ahead and practice one of these. It says use base 10 blocks to compare a 3-digit number of your choice to 595. So let's do 531. I'm going to write that in. Okay, and now I need to decide if I'm going to use less than, greater than, or equal to. You probably remember this little alligator mouth from first grade. And we always want to chomp the bigger number, so it's always going to go towards the bigger number. So if we look here, let's make our first number 500 and 500, right? These line up, they're the same. So that's not going to help us figure out which one's bigger, right? Then we've got our tens. And in the number that we made, we had 3 tens, but the number that was already there had 9. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. So if we compare, let's see if I can, oops. Let me get these out of the way. If we compare our tens, we can easily see that 595 has way more tens than 531, which makes it the bigger number. So we don't even need to move on and look at the ones because we already know that 595 has more tens. So we're going to do the big alligator mouth towards 595. And because from left to right, if we're reading it this way, because the open big mouth is first and the little point at the back is second, we're going to read this as greater than. So 595 is greater than 531. Now, if I flipped these numbers around and compared them this way, I would need to still chomp 595 with my alligator mouth, right? But I would read this as 531 is less than 595. Edwin has 421 marbles and 463 baseball cards in his collection. Use the chart to compare the numbers of items in his collection. So marbles, he has 400s, 2 10s, 1 1. Baseball, he has 400s, 6 10s, 3 1s. So normally in math, we start in the ones place, especially if we're adding or subtracting. But when we're comparing numbers, we always want to start in the biggest place value. In this case, it's the hundreds. So let's look at our hundreds first. They're both 4. So do we know which one's bigger yet? No, we do not. So then we're going to go to the next biggest place value, which is our tens. Marbles has 2 10s, baseball cards has 6 10s. So already we can tell that this baseball card number is going to be bigger than the marble number because 6 10s is bigger than 2 10s.
Compare numbers to 1,000. We can compare numbers by using the place value chart and lining up the numbers. Let's compare 618 and 634. In 618, there are 6 hundreds, 1 10, and 8 ones. In 634, there are 6 hundreds, 3 10s, and 4 ones. When comparing numbers, we look at one digit and compare it to another number. Start with the number that has the greatest place value, hundreds. When we compare the numbers in the hundreds place, we find that both are equal. They both have 6 hundreds. Since they are the same, we can look at the tens next. The tens are not equal. We can compare these digits to find the greater number. 3 tens are greater than 1 10. So 634 is greater than 618. Remember, some numbers are less than each other, such as 712 is less than 812. Now, let's compare 978 and 978. Both numbers have 900s. Both numbers have 7 tens. Both numbers have 8 ones. So, 978 is equal to 978.
All right, so you're going to need your Math in My World book on page 333. You're also going to need your base 10 blocks. So let's go ahead and do that. We are going to find 331 and 208 with base 10 blocks. And we are going to figure out which of these is the bigger number and use our comparison alligator mouth down there to help us. So I'm going to write it out to the side here. 331 and 208. So remember, we're starting in our biggest place value, and right away we can already see 300s is bigger than 200s. So 331 is going to go on this side because this is the open mouth, bigger chomp side. And then 208 will go on this side. So if you'd like to, you can either put out your place value blocks or you can draw them. I'm going to draw them just because I think they'll fit better on my screen. So 331 and 208. Okay, once you have yours drawn on, you may move on to guided practice. Okay, so use these steps to compare numbers. Step 1 is to line up the numbers by place value in the chart, just like we did on the last one. Compare the digits in the greatest place value first. If they're the same, compare the digits in the next place value. So we have been doing this so far, and this is just showing you again. Hundreds were the same, so they had to go to the tens. 3 is bigger than 1, so the alligator's going to chomp towards the 3. Okay, again, this is the same steps. Line them up, compare them. In this case, we have less in the bottom one, so 823 is less than 846. The alligator mouth is still chomping the bigger number. They're just switched around. And in this case, we haven't come across one of these yet, but when we compare the digits in the hundreds, they're the same. When we compare the digits in the tens, they're the same, and in the ones, they're the same. So there's not one that's bigger than the other. So we're actually going to use the equal sign between it, which would read 978 is equal to 978. So let's write greater than, less than, or equal to on these problems by looking at our hundreds first, then our tens, then our ones. So far we have 100 and 100. So that doesn't help us, right? Because those are the same. So let's look at our next biggest, which is the tens. We have 4 and 2. Well, I know 4 is bigger than 2, so I'm going to chomp 142 instead of 124. Please fill that in on page 334. Now let's look at number 2. Hundreds are the same. Tens are the same. We have to go all the way to the ones. We have 3 and 7. 7's bigger, so we're going to chomp 257. This would read 253 is less than 257. All right, let's check our hundreds. 3, 3. Check our tens. 1, 1. Check our ones. 3, 3. They are all the same, so we're going to draw equal to. Okay, let's look in our biggest place value, which is 8 and 7. 800's bigger, so we already know that we're going to make our alligator chomp. 842 is greater than 795. 669,944. These are equal. 200, 100, 0, 5, 3, and 3. We have to look in the biggest place value, which is 200 and 100, so we're going to chomp the 200. All right, let's try a few more. Now we're getting all the way to 1,000. My goodness. So this one has a whole extra place value, right? There's no thousands in this one, so this has to be the bigger number. Same thing with this one. We have ones and tens, but this one has ones, tens, and hundreds, so it's going to be bigger. These are the exact same. These are close. Don't let this trick you. Hundreds are the same, but look, the tens are one off, so 4 is bigger than 3. They've just flip-flopped their tens and ones, so we would say 743 is greater than 734. 800, 800. Go to our tens. 600, 700. 700's bigger. 500, 400. 500's bigger. Explain how to compare 567 and 576. So 567, 576. How are we going to do that? Well, we have to start in our largest place value, which in this case is hundreds. The hundreds are the same, so we go next door to check the tens. And in this case, 7 is bigger than 6, so the alligator's going to open its mouth towards 576. We read this as 567 is less than 576. Go ahead and do your independent practice and problem solving and brain builders on pages 335.